Imagine a life where your thoughts create your reality, where each moment is filled with positivity and purpose. In Buddhism, positive thinking is not just an idea, but a living practice that brings deep inner peace and happiness. Ancient wisdom shows us how to grow joy, compassion, and resilience, helping us meet life's challenges with a calm mind. Begin this journey to discover the path to a truly fulfilling life through the practice of positive thinking in Buddhism. The basis of positive thinking in Buddhism. Buddhism teaches that our thoughts shape our reality. The way we see the world decides how we live it, and the mind is the doorway to real happiness. But what does Buddhism mean by positive thinking? It does not mean forcing ourselves to feel happy all the time or ignoring life's problems. It means training the mind to see life as it is, without clinging or rejecting, and to build an inner sense of peace and contentment. At the center of this practice is the understanding of karma and mental habits. Every thought we hold plants a seed in our mind, and in time, these seeds grow into our actions and emotions. If we constantly dwell on negativity, resentment, or fear, these states will become habitual. But if we consciously cultivate gratitude, compassion, and wisdom, our mind will naturally incline toward positivity. The Buddha himself emphasized the importance of right thought, one of the key elements of the Noble Eightfold Path. Right thought means directing our minds toward kindness, selflessness, and wisdom. When we let go of self-centered worries and embrace a broader perspective, we begin to see the world differently, not as a place full of threats, but as a space of interconnectedness and potential. One powerful way to lay the foundation for positive thinking is through the practice of mindfulness sati. Mindfulness allows us to become aware of our mental patterns and gently redirect them. Instead of being trapped in cycles of worry or negativity, we learn to observe thoughts as they arise and let them go, choosing to focus on those that uplift and support us. Another essential aspect is meditation, bhavana, which literally means mental cultivation. By practicing loving-kindness meditation metta, we train ourselves to generate goodwill toward ourselves and others. This doesn't mean ignoring problems, but rather approaching them with a mind that is balanced and kind, rather than reactive and fearful. A simple yet profound teaching in Buddhism is, with our thoughts, we make the world. This means that if we nurture a mind filled with gratitude, patience, and wisdom, we create a life that reflects these qualities. The external world may be unpredictable, but our inner world is within our control. Ultimately, the foundation of positive thinking in Buddhism is not about denying reality, but about seeing it with clarity and responding skillfully. By developing awareness, practicing gratitude, and choosing thoughts that lead to peace and kindness, we reshape our experience of life itself. Cultivating mindfulness for a positive mindset. Mindfulness is the key to transforming our thoughts and emotions. In Buddhism, it is known as sati, a fundamental practice that allows us to see reality as it is, without being overwhelmed by negative emotions or automatic reactions. But how does mindfulness help us cultivate a positive mindset? The answer lies in awareness. When we become conscious of our mental habits, we gain the power to change them. Most of our suffering comes from the mind's tendency to dwell on the past or worry about the future. We replay old regrets or anxieties, reinforcing negative patterns that cloud our perception of the present moment. Mindfulness interrupts this cycle by bringing our attention back to the here and now, allowing us to experience life with greater clarity and peace. A simple yet profound way to practice mindfulness is through breath awareness, anapanasati. By focusing on each inhale and exhale, we train the mind to stay present. Whenever we notice negative thoughts arising, self-doubt, anger, or worry, we can gently return our focus to the breath, preventing these thoughts from taking control. Another powerful tool is observing thoughts without attachment. The Buddha compared the mind to a vast sky and thoughts to passing clouds. If we learn to watch them come and go without identifying with them, we free ourselves from their influence. Instead of thinking, "I am anxious," we observe. Anxiety is arising. This shift reduces the power of negative emotions and creates space for positivity. Mindfulness also helps us develop gratitude and appreciation for the present moment. Often we take simple joys for granted: a meal, a conversation, the warmth of the sun. But when we bring full awareness to these experiences, we cultivate a natural sense of contentment. The more we practice noticing the good in our lives, the more our mind becomes attuned to positivity. One of the most transformative aspects of mindfulness is its ability to disrupt automatic negative thinking. When a challenging situation arises, instead of reacting impulsively, we pause, take a deep breath, and observe our emotions. This pause gives us the freedom to choose a response rooted in wisdom rather than fear. Buddhist teachings remind us that what we focus on grows. If we constantly feed thoughts of anger, envy, or despair, they become stronger. But if we nurture thoughts of kindness, patience, and gratitude, they flourish. Mindfulness is the practice that allows us to make this shift consciously, turning our minds into allies rather than enemies. By cultivating mindfulness daily, whether through meditation, mindful walking, or simply paying attention to our thoughts, we lay the foundation for a positive, resilient, and peaceful mindset. It's not about forcing positivity, but about seeing life with clarity and choosing thoughts that lead to joy. The role of compassion and loving kindness, true positive thinking in Buddhism, isn't just about individual happiness. It's about cultivating a mind that radiates kindness and compassion. A positive mindset, in the Buddhist sense, is deeply intertwined with metta, loving kindness, and karuna, compassion. These qualities transform not only our own mental state, but also the way we interact with the world. Loving kindness is the practice of wishing well for all beings, including ourselves. It's a powerful antidote to negativity because it replaces resentment, anger, and judgment with warmth and goodwill. The Buddha taught that a mind filled with loving kindness is like a lamp. It shines on everyone without discrimination. When we cultivate metta, we naturally develop a more positive outlook because our heart is free from hostility. Compassion, on the other hand, is the ability to see suffering and respond with care. Many people think that compassion means carrying the burdens of others, but in Buddhism, it's about recognizing suffering without being overwhelmed by it. True compassion arises from wisdom. It sees suffering clearly and responds with kindness instead of despair. One of the most transformative Buddhist practices is the metta bhavana, loving kindness meditation. This meditation involves silently repeating phrases like, "May I be happy, may I be healthy, may I be free from suffering, may all beings be happy." We start with ourselves, then extend these wishes to loved ones, neutral people, and even those who have hurt us. Over time, this practice rewires the brain, making kindness our natural response instead of negativity. Studies in neuroscience confirm that regular metta meditation increases positive emotions, reduces stress, and enhances overall well-being. Compassion also plays a crucial role in overcoming negative self-talk. Many of us are harsher on ourselves than we would ever be on others. The Buddhist path teaches us that just as we wish happiness for others, we must also extend kindness to ourselves. Self-compassion isn't self-indulgence. It's the foundation of a stable, positive mind. When we forgive our own mistakes and treat ourselves with gentleness, we create the emotional space needed for growth and joy. The Dalai Lama once said, If you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion. This highlights a crucial truth. A positive life is not about selfish pleasure, but about being connected to others with a heart full of kindness. When we focus on bringing happiness to others, we naturally cultivate happiness within ourselves. The power of compassion is that it dissolves barriers between self and others. When we see all beings as interconnected, envy and resentment fade away. Instead of feeling threatened by others' success, we rejoice in it. Instead of reacting to others' negativity with anger, we meet it with understanding. This shift creates a life filled with genuine positivity, not forced optimism, but deep, lasting joy. By making compassion and loving kindness daily practices, we transform not only our mindset, but the world around us. A mind full of metta is a mind at peace. And from this peace arises the unshakable positivity that Buddhism teaches, transforming negative thoughts and emotions. Negative thoughts and emotions are part of being human, but Buddhism teaches that we are not slaves to them. Instead of suppressing, denying, or being overwhelmed by negativity, we can learn to transform it. The key is awareness, acceptance, and skillful response. The first step is recognizing that thoughts are not reality. Often we take our thoughts too seriously, believing everything our mind tells us. But Buddhism reminds us that thoughts are just passing mental events, like clouds in the sky. They come and go. They do not define us. When we understand this, we can observe negative thoughts without being consumed by them. One powerful Buddhist practice for transforming negativity is mindful observation, vipassana meditation. Instead of fighting a negative emotion, we sit with it, notice it, and investigate its nature. If we feel anger, we ask, where do I feel this in my body? What thoughts are fueling it? Is it permanent? When we look deeply, we realize that emotions rise and fall. They are not as solid or overwhelming as they seem. Another technique is the practice of non-attachment. Much of our suffering comes from clinging to thoughts and emotions as if they were absolute. The Buddha taught that everything is impermanent, including our mental states. When we stop identifying with our emotions, I am sad, and instead observe them, sadness is arising. We create distance and freedom. Compassion also plays a crucial role in transforming negativity. Often negative emotions like anger or resentment stem from pain. Instead of reacting with more anger, we can bring self-compassion into the moment. We remind ourselves that suffering is universal and that all beings experience pain. This shift softens our hearts and allows us to move from reaction to understanding. Gratitude is another powerful antidote. When the mind is stuck in negativity, we can consciously redirect it toward appreciation. A simple practice is to list 3 things we are grateful for each morning. Over time, this rewires the brain to focus on the positive rather than the negative. Another Buddhist method for transforming negativity is Tonglen meditation, a Tibetan practice of giving and taking. In this meditation, we visualize ourselves breathing in the suffering of others and breathing out relief, kindness, and peace. This practice not only reduces our own negativity, but also strengthens our connection with others. Finally, we must remember that negativity weakens when we stop feeding it. If we constantly dwell on resentments, replay past hurts, or engage in negative self-talk, we strengthen these patterns. But if we cultivate positive emotions through meditation, acts of kindness, and mindful awareness, negative thoughts naturally lose their grip. Transforming negative emotions is not about suppressing them, but learning to meet them with awareness and wisdom. Through mindfulness, compassion, and conscious redirection, we develop a mind that is resilient, peaceful, and full of positivity. The practice of rejoicing in others' happiness, mudita, in a world where competition and comparison are common, the Buddhist practice of mudita, or sympathetic joy, offers a revolutionary way to cultivate a positive mindset. Instead of feeling envy or resentment when others succeed, we learn to genuinely rejoice in their happiness. This not only strengthens our relationships, but also brings us deep inner peace. Many of us have experienced the sting of comparison, seeing someone else achieve something we desire and feeling inadequate or envious. Buddhism teaches that this mindset creates unnecessary suffering. When we are caught in jealousy, we reinforce a sense of separation and lack, which only fuels negativity. But when we cultivate mudita, we shift from scarcity to abundance, recognizing that another person's happiness does not diminish our own. The Buddha described mudita as one of the 4 Brahma viharas, or sublime states, alongside loving-kindness, metta, compassion, karuna, and equanimity, upekkha. Just as we practice compassion for those who suffer, we can train ourselves to feel genuine joy for those who thrive. This creates a positive cycle. The more we celebrate others' happiness, the more joy we experience ourselves. A simple but powerful way to develop mudita is through intentional gratitude for others' success. Whenever we notice jealousy arising, we can shift our focus by silently wishing the other person well. May they continue to experience joy and success. May their happiness inspire others. May I find my own unique path to fulfillment. By making this a habit, we rewire our minds to respond with joy instead of envy. Over time, this becomes natural, and we begin to see the world with a heart that is open rather than threatened. Another technique is the mudita meditation, where we visualize a friend, family member, or even a stranger experiencing happiness, and allow ourselves to feel their joy as if it were our own. This meditation helps dissolve feelings of competition and creates a deep sense of interconnectedness. Mudita also teaches us an essential truth. Happiness multiplies when it is shared. Have you ever noticed that celebrating a loved one's success brings you joy as well? This is because joy is not a limited resource. When we embrace mudita, we free ourselves from the toxic cycle of comparison and cultivate a mindset where happiness is abundant and shared. At its core, mudita is about letting go of the illusion of separation. Instead of seeing life as a competition, we recognize that we are all part of the same human experience. Someone else's success does not take away from our own. It is simply another expression of life's beauty. By practicing mudita daily through meditation, mindful reflection, and conscious celebration of others, we shift from scarcity to abundance, resentment to joy, and competition to connection. This is one of the greatest secrets of a truly positive and fulfilling life. Embracing impermanence to enhance positivity. One of the most profound teachings in Buddhism is impermanence, anicca, the understanding that everything in life is constantly changing. At first, this may seem unsettling. We often seek stability, clinging to relationships, possessions, or even emotions, hoping they will last forever. But Buddhism teaches that embracing impermanence is the key to true peace and positivity. When we resist change, we create suffering. We become attached to people, experiences, and even identities, fearing their loss. But when we accept that everything is in flux, we stop struggling against the natural flow of life. Instead of fearing change, we learn to ride its waves with grace. A simple example of impermanence is nature. No season lasts forever. No flower stays in bloom indefinitely. The same is true for our emotions, thoughts, and circumstances. When we understand this, we stop over-identifying with temporary feelings. If we are sad today, we remember that sadness, like the seasons, will pass. This shift allows us to navigate life's ups and downs with a more balanced and positive mindset. Impermanence also teaches us to cherish the present moment. Because nothing lasts forever, every experience is precious. Instead of rushing through life, we learn to pause and appreciate what is here now. The laughter of a friend, the warmth of the sun, the taste of a meal. This awareness naturally fosters gratitude and joy. One of the greatest sources of suffering is clinging to things that are bound to change. A job, a relationship, youth, status. The Buddha compared this to trying to grasp water in our hands. The tighter we hold, the faster it slips away. But if we hold life gently, knowing that everything is temporary, we find freedom and lightness. A powerful Buddhist practice to embrace impermanence is reflection on change. Each day we remind ourselves everything is temporary, both joy and sorrow. Every experience is an opportunity to grow. Because life is fleeting, I will live fully today. By internalizing these truths, we cultivate a deep sense of peace and acceptance. Instead of fearing endings, we appreciate beginnings. Instead of clinging, we learn to flow. This shift in perspective leads to a more positive, resilient, and joyful life. Impermanence also reminds us to let go of grudges and regrets. If everything is constantly changing, why hold on to past pain? When we recognize that both we and others are in a state of transformation, forgiveness comes more easily. We stop defining ourselves by past mistakes and allow room for growth. Ultimately, embracing impermanence doesn't lead to despair, it leads to freedom. When we stop fearing change, we open ourselves to new possibilities, deeper gratitude, and an unshakable inner peace. Integrating positive thinking into everyday life. Knowing the power of positive thinking in Buddhism is one step, but bringing it into daily life is where real change takes place. Buddhism reminds us that true growth comes from steady practice, not just from understanding ideas. To bring positivity fully into our lives, we must train the mind every day, just like training a muscle. One of the best ways to do this is by setting mindful intentions. Each morning before the day begins, we can pause and choose a positive thought. Today, I will answer with kindness instead of anger. I will pay attention to what I already have instead of what is missing. I will view challenges as chances to grow. By guiding our thoughts with awareness, we teach our minds to look for the good rather than slipping into negativity. Another important practice is being aware of our words and thoughts. Speech has great power. It shapes not only how we experience life, but also how others around us feel. The Buddha taught the path of right speech, which means speaking with kindness, honesty, and encouragement. When we avoid gossip, complaints, and harsh words, we naturally create a more positive space for ourselves and others. Meditation continues to be one of the strongest tools to support positivity. A simple practice is loving kindness meditation, called metta, where we send kind wishes to ourselves and others. Just 5 minutes a day can slowly change our way of thinking. Another helpful method is gratitude meditation, where we recall 3 things we are thankful for each day. This helps the mind focus on abundance instead of what is missing. We can also bring positivity into daily life through small acts of kindness. Buddhism teaches that selfless giving, or dana, brings deep joy. Simple gestures like helping a colleague, saying thank you, or sharing a smile spread waves of positivity. When we give happiness, we also receive happiness. Practicing mindfulness during the day is equally important. Rather than rushing through life on autopilot, we can pause and take a breath before responding. Whether we're stuck in traffic, in a tough conversation, or feeling stressed, we can return to the present moment and choose a calm, positive response instead of a reactive one. In the end, self-compassion is vital. No one can be positive all the time, and Buddhism does not suggest we push away negative emotions. Instead, we notice them, remember they are temporary, and gently bring ourselves back to balance. If we make mistakes, we learn and let go instead of holding on. We simply start again. By making these small but meaningful shifts, setting intentions, practicing mindfulness, speaking kindly, growing gratitude, and embracing self-compassion, we don't just think positively, we live positively. This is the heart of Buddhism. Real happiness does not come from outside events, but from how we train the mind to see the world. Your mind, your reality. That is the power of positive thinking in Buddhism. Everything we've explored on this path leads to one clear truth. Your mind shapes your reality. We cannot control every situation, nor can we avoid losses, struggles, or sudden changes. But what we can guide is how we understand, respond to, and grow from these moments. In Buddhism, positive thinking is not about forcing joy or denying problems. It is a steady practice of training the mind to see reality clearly, to let go of suffering, and to build a peace and happiness that does not depend on outside conditions. In this journey, we've seen how mindfulness helps us step out of autopilot, giving us space to notice our thoughts before they turn into heavy emotions. We've explored compassion and loving kindness, not only as ways to strengthen bonds with others, but also as tools to free ourselves from anger and negativity. We've learned that negative thoughts are not enemies to fight. They are more like passing clouds drifting through the wide sky of the mind. And when we learn to watch our thoughts without clinging to them, we stop being ruled by them. We come to see that envy and comparison only limit us, while the practice of mudita, rejoicing in others' joy, opens us to abundance instead of scarcity. And maybe the most powerful truth of all is this: everything changes. Life is always moving, and when we stop fighting against impermanence, we discover a peace that is steady, even through life's unexpected turns. By accepting that nothing lasts forever, we learn to value each moment and live with a lighter heart. But knowing this alone is not enough. Understanding without practice cannot bring real change. If we want these teachings to shape our lives, we need to train our minds every day. Just as the body grows stronger with regular exercise, the mind becomes more steady through consistent practice of positive habits. Small steps can bring big shifts. Spend a few minutes each day noticing your thoughts without reacting right away. Practice gratitude by paying attention to what you have instead of what is missing. Speak kind words to yourself and to others. Take a calm breath before facing any challenge. And above all, remember that every day is a new chance to train your mind and choose peace instead of suffering. If this content has inspired you or given you something to think about, I invite you to subscribe to the channel. Here, we keep exploring how Buddhist wisdom and other powerful practices can be applied in everyday life. And I'd truly love to hear your thoughts. Which of these teachings touched you the most? Which one will you begin to practice in your own life? Share your reflections in the comments below. Sharing ideas and experiences is one of the best ways for us to grow together. Change begins in the mind, and the choice to start is always yours. See you in the next video.